Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club. We are your weekly comic book themed reading, watching, buying, viewing, absorbing podcast. Just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. We know you do too, so we're here to talk about a handful of first issues and recommend the ones that you should pick up, discuss them all. What's your taste, babe?
Babs.
Whatever it is, we've got a comic for you, I bet. So we're going to talk about the comic book news, then we'll cover some first issues that are going to be fantastic onboarding points to get you involved in the hobby of reading and collecting comic books. First off, let's get acquainted with the voices of your hosts. I'm Mike DeStacy.
I'm Greg.
I'm Andy Vargas.
Fantastic. We three, the FIC. This podcast is brought to you by Space Camper Cosmic IPA. It is from Boulevard Brewing Company. In my opinion, the greatest brewery in the galaxy.
Galaxy.
Great tasting IPA, extremely palatable, incredible number of variants, and a lot of these beers are nerd, sci-fi, comic book inspired in theme.
Yep.
And so that's fantastic. Check out Space Camper Cosmic IPA wherever you buy your beers.
Every week, I drink mine before we get to the pitch
Yeah, because we do the Patreon first.
because I
Yep.
want to keep drinking the beer and not
And you're
save it.
And you're a thirsty boy.
I'm a thirsty boy. But I do have the Lisan Al Gaib can.
Yep.
And I'm
The Sunslayer.
The Sunslayer. Very excited about the Dune can.
Which sounds like a Sword album. The
Sure.
band, the
Sunslayer?
the metal band Sword.
Oh, yeah.
Sunslayer. Near perfect
You got it.
reenactment of Sword.
Speaking of music in the Cosmic IPA, I had two of them. I had two Space Campers last night at the Smashing Pumpkins concert. And I bought a shirt that they had that was comic book themed. And I thought my two favorite things from when I was a teenager coalescing on cotton, I have to buy it.
Ooh, Coalescing on Cotton. That's a band name.
That's
Who was with the Pumps?
Oh, Paris, who is a band that Andy and I went to go see a while back. She opened for Poppy.
Yeah.
And was fantastic live. And same can be said now.
awesome.
So really great opener. So
How long was the Pumpkins set?
they played 17 songs, I think.
Okay.
In bed by 9:30.
About they played a little less than half new stuff, and then they played a decent amount of
The hits?
of the hits, which I was very excited for. The what's it called? The tour was called the World is a Vampire tour.
Sick.
So I just assumed that we were going to get a lot of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, but they played a handful of songs from Siamese Dream and a song from Machina, a song from Adore. One of my favorite bands in high school, and I never got to see them, so
Oh, that's sick.
went for fun and ended up getting way more into it than I expected I would.
Nice.
You know, it's something where you just like, I probably didn't listen to them for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it really surprised me how it like all came rushing back to me. And I was just like mega fanning out. So I'm really glad that I went.
I only bring that up because Caitlin and I went and saw Childish Gambino
Yeah.
Hell
on
yeah.
Monday, and that motherfucker played for 2 straight hours,
Oh, wow.
just blowing the doors off the Sprint Center.
We got a shorter concert for this because it was outside and a storm was like, you could see it coming from the audit, like
That kind of rules,
the
though.
place.
Seeing
So-
the Smashing Pumpkins, wow.
It's just like
cumulative clouds.
crazy lightning in the background, and they were like, "We gotta wrap it up." So a little bit of a shorter set, but we got to bed early, which I can appreciate on a Wednesday night concert.
I was a wreck on Tuesday just from screaming at Childish Gambino and not getting to bed before midnight. No, thank you.
Sheesh. Let's talk about comics, fellas.
Yay!
I've got some comic book news.
Mm-hmm.
Too.
I don't know if you guys do. All right, fantastic. We'll do a little round robin of comic book news.
I did mine over on the Patreon. If you want that, patreon.com/firstissueclub.
Great promo. All right. The biggest news, I think, which spoiler for Iron Fist fans if you haven't read that annual yet.
Hang on.
Or that anniversary issue.
Yeah, strap it in.
I'm buckled in.
Both of they're buckling in because Greg and Andy don't know what happened in this comic.
I'm ready to be consternated.
Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, is dead. Brutally murdered, I might add.
By whom?
Had an entire leg and arm cut off.
Whoa.
Oh, what's the guy with the big like swords for arms?
Claw?
I can't remember his name.
Oh, the Swordman? No, he was in Shang-Chi, wasn't he?
Razor Fist.
Yeah, but that might be it. Yes. Okay. This book is the perfect case study for why everyone has been mad about the QR codes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because Marvel has continually said, this is additional content. What are you so mad about? We're giving you extra stuff for free. And the comic fan reaction has been,
this is stupid.
I'm collecting comic books and can reference these. Like, you know this about us. We're obsessed with the lore and having artifacts of it that we can go back and reference. So when some of it's on a link somewhere that dies eventually, like, we're just not going to have that contextual history in the comic book or artifact that we own. So the QR code for this book is a glowing skeleton fist popping up out of the ground like a week after Danny Rand has been buried. So the Iron Fist Danny Rand lives on as some sort of like undead skeleton Iron Fist.
Fuck yeah.
And that happening only exists in a link on the internet.
Okay, so
And
hold on.
is-
Can I see if I get this straight?
So story essential.
So he was murdered on paper.
Yes.
Like you can read that in the paper.
Yep.
In the comic
You switch to the last page.
QR code.
QR code.
And then it's Iron Fist glowing hand pumping out of the. He was party rocking out of the grave.
Out of a grave. And he's doing his glowing Iron Fist thing, but with no flesh on the
Okay.
fist.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
Most of all, why would you do this, Marvel?
Yeah, I know. It's not bonus material. That
seems pretty pivotal.
That's been the thing they keep going back to when people are complaining about this. They need to just get rid of it.
Ugh. I think they've locked in too much.
I can't wait till they release all of those in like
one comic.
Free comic book day.
QR code.
Because
edition.
you're all pissed about all the pivotal stuff that happened in these.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now you can have the one comic book.
Cool, here's a bunch of non sequiturs I'm going to have to flip through.
Yeah, that you can just be like, at least I can reference it in that like extra page tome that
now
I have.
that's going to get slabbed.
Hell
and be
yeah,
worth
dude, that's what I'm saying.
Millions of dollars.
First everything.
Yeah,
Is
first
like-
Oh my God,
appearance, like
totally.
it's so fucking long.
Yeah.
It's an extra case longer.
Because X-Force had a first appearance or something that like wouldn't have what was in a QR code.
First
link.
appearance of skeleton Iron Fist.
That's what I'm saying. All that stuff. I'm gonna buy it.
I would 100% buy it just because it's funny.
Yeah.
And Marvel would really have gotten our goose then.
Goose gotten.
So I don't know. I thought that was funny.
I skipped all of those 50th anniversary things.
Well, here's the thing. I would have never assumed this Iron Fist book was like anything canonically important. But it 100% appears so.
Yeah.
Especially since I think one of the main writers on it, like it was one of those things where you have a handful of different writers writing different things for it as these
taboos on there.
Anniversary issues tend to go.
Yeah.
And Chris Claremont was one of those people. And a lot of times I skip these books that like
I skip anything with Chris Claremont.
No, obviously I think Chris Claremont's a legend and I love him to death. Really sweet guy, but when he writes stuff now, it's normally not canon or it's like a look back upon a different time in comics, and it's not like reading the same as the other comic books that I'm like currently engaged in that have like the modern canonical tone to them. So I just that is like code to me that like you can skip this book.
That's like when Walt Simonson writes a Thor thing.
Yes.
You're like, oh, this is going to be an old school
That
Thor.
is code as optional for me.
Yeah.
And as many comics as I buy, I need to like pass on some
I
stuff
need
like
that
this.
code.
Especially because that stuff's like, it's a $10 issue.
Yeah, those
Right?
bigger
Like-
issues are $9.99.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. My thoughts on the QR code thing, I don't like it.
We still hate it. I mean, we've talked about this for like a couple of weeks now.
Why isn't Marvel changing it? It's because they're in the news cycle every week for it. And people are talking about Marvel, and they don't care why.
What gets my goat about it is that it's a full page QR code. Like,
Yeah.
you could have just printed the material.
Completely.
Like, it would be different if it was like, oh, it's the letters page or the QR code in the bottom corner.
Yeah. Right. It is a page devoted solely to a QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Put it, if there's really no room for it, put it next to the to be continued thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not saving
In
any
the
money
corner
by
of the
doing
page.
this.
Yeah.
So stupid.
And again, the cybersecurity professional in me,
yeah,
really,
someone hacks one of
I
those
just
links.
really want somebody to hack it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
link to the DC Unlimited page.
Yeah. It'd be really funny.
I mean, legally speaking, don't do that.
Yeah, that was
That was a joke.
Lampoon.
It was satire.
satire,
It'd be funny if you did.
hypothetically.
In an Andy Kaufman way.
Next bit of news.
NYCC extending to 5 days, adding an industry day for retailers. We've got a buddy who owns a shop in New Jersey
NJD.
and
Maybe you
made
heard of
sure
him?
he was going. He is going to go. So that's really cool.
Cool.
Apparently, there's like a full day of programming from noon to 9 p.m.
Ooh,
so
it's a timeshare meeting.
that's really cool. I think that they're doing like an entire day of programming just for like retailers.
Yeah.
That sounds like a teacher's in-service.
And I would feel like so cool and special being like at this thing where apparently they're going to have like exclusive comics and signings just for these people. Because it's like, oh, they're fans too. Or they can take these things back to their stores and sell them for like a lot of money. So it's kind of like the con doing a solid
Okay,
for all these
that's
people
cool.
who like keep them afloat and
Yeah,
do
that's
all
awesome.
do all this stuff. So it's I think SDCC might do something similar where they've have like an industry day and kind of use it as like,
Oh, I think they do because
And-
NYCC is doing this to keep up with San Diego Comic-Con.
right, to be like parallel as
Mm-hmm.
like the big cons of each coast so one doesn't eclipse the other.
That's cool.
But great to have like some sort of
Yeah.
convention
Pay some
thing
respects.
for them to do that.
To the people that keep you up.
Okay, there's a guy. Next bit of news. I'm assuming no one else has anything to say about the NYCC stuff. Which is kind of interesting.
I think
don't
you
know.
marked every box.
There's this guy, Michael DeChellis, who is a comic book restorer, who was arrested for just selling people's comics.
Did he used to work for CGC?
Who had sent them in for restoration. And he's done this with an estimated $300,000 worth of comic books.
The Stones.
In addition to having sold that amount of comic books, he's also charged these people up front for these restoration services, which are on obviously classic comics that are like worth tons of money.
How are you
So-
not out of business in 4 months?
So he's getting like $5,000 from people in order to do the restoring, because in essence, that level of restoration work could add, $30,000 to your comic book, right?
So what was the scam? Was he just selling the books and then buying different copies?
They apparently have records of him selling these at like normal online auctions.
Uh-huh.
So pretty easy to track these back to him.
Right.
But then
But
the,
so like
the
let's-
people who sent their books in just didn't get their
Just
books?
never got their books back.
Oh no no no
Jesus
no!
Christ.
He ceased contact, just like completely done.
What?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the first guy made a like formally started to pursue it because he was
Yeah.
like, this guy is like $60,000 worth of my comics
Yeah.
and has
That's
essentially
grand larceny at that
like
point.
stolen them from me. And then police started looking into the guy, and they very quickly found like 13 other people like in a week that were like had also had stuff just like never come back.
How long has he been doing this? Did it say?
No, it didn't really. I didn't get an idea of.
That's the kind of operation that doesn't last long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like that might have been a thing where he like conveyed himself as like a really professional person at doing this, and maybe at one point he was, and then just like, I don't know if he got in trouble with like gambling or something, and was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this for a couple months, which is my normal turnaround time," and then by the time people have caught on, I'll have disappeared myself.
Jeez.
But like, I mean, that does not seem like a well thought out
No.
grift.
So hopefully some of these people at least get money back out of the guy, but who knows how much of it he just blew. But really feeling for
Well, his life's about to blow.
the collectors that he screwed. That really sucks.
Dude.
Can I piggyback off that story
Yeah.
with something that I have? I don't know if you've heard, but CGC did lose their defamation case, and it was hit with a $10 million damage claim because this company sent in books to CGC to get graded.
Yeah.
They were restored books, so they knew what they were getting graded. And I guess a grader affiliated with CGC was on some like forum or chat area and basically asserted or assumed that these people
We're trying to grift them.
that the restorations that they did weren't legitimate or like not like on the up and up or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know a better word for it. And so the people that are suing CGC, this company, said that they lost, you know,
Tons of business.
tons of business because they were defamed by this one grader.
By the authority in comic book preservation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
To
if,
which-
if this company says that you're not shit,
Yeah.
then you're not shit,
Well,
right?
and like CGC was just like, listen, he was acting on his own in a chat room. He wasn't with CGC.
If he's presenting himself as a
CGC
representative,
grader.
yeah.
Absolutely. And
Exactly.
the jury also believes with that take.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now CGC, well, they appealed the outcome. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. But as of right now, they have a $10 million invoice coming their way. Which after that, I mean, you just retire from your business of selling comics and do nothing.
Yeah, totally.
Jeez.
So that brings it all around to, you know, we use CGC all the time. Are we going to see their prices go up for doing things?
Well, can they even stay in business? If a $10 million settlement comes down, how much is that company worth?
I don't know,
11.
they'll probably find some sort of like payment plan thing where they can
Yeah, tax loophole.
dole it out in a reasonable.
They'll make a Batgirls movie and then shelf it and write it
that
off
is
as
time.
tax,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
tax
The
incentive.
CGC movie.
I would think they could definitely afford to do, you know, $1 million a year to these people for the next 11 years.
Yeah, they'll hire the guy that sold other people's books he was going to restore to like kind of Ocean's 11 this and get their money back.
But I think we may have already seen CGC do something in reaction to this ahead of the verdict coming in, which is start verifying signatures, which is a service they used to say, no, we'll never do that. We're the authority. These things are completely fact checked. There's no assumptions or gray area with what CGC does. And
Now they're just like,
all of a sudden they're like, actually, you can pay us like $40 per signature to verify that that's the real signature. Yeah, no problem.
hey, you know what? Pay us 60. We'll write Stanley's name on there ourselves.
Send us those books, fam.
I'll tell you what, you send us $10 million,
Yeah.
we'll grade whatever you want.
Hey, Skibidi Toilet, we'll do whatever the fuck you want, man. Just give us something.
So part of like all of the drama with CGC, with just like books disappearing and stuff like this, it does make me want to go with CBCS more lately, because CBCS just like hasn't had the drama.
I'll just slap my own books
They're
at this point.
They're the more like, I feel like CBCS is the more strict grader, and over time, a 9.8 from them might mean more than a 9.8 from CGC. Like, I definitely have modern CGC books that are a 9.8 that have like a little ding somewhere on them.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, part of their thing is they allow like one ding somewhere. But like CBCS doesn't do that. If it's something where I can like look at the comic book and see that
CBCS
a
no
corner
dings.
is like a little bent, or there's like a 1 centimeter kind of like divot in the spine, like they're not giving you a 9.8. I have that Benjamin Percy Wolverine #1 cover that's worth like $400 in a 9.8.
Yeah.
CGC gave me a 9.8 on that. It's visible that there's a dent in the spine.
There's like teeth marks in it. They're like, yeah, 9.8.
If I broke it open and sent it to CBCS, no fucking way in a million years it gets a 9.8.
5.0, homie.
Yep, comes back a 4.
So that sort of thing makes it hard to walk away from CGC, but at the same time, I don't know.
You don't know what?
I just would like to support CBCS more, I think.
Okay.
I think their slabs...
You're a conscientious objector.
I think the new design of their slabs like looks nicer, too.
The black labels are dope.
They're more minimal and clean and crisp, and I just like the vibe of those.
Yeah. All right.
The only thing I like...
They're kind of slender, too.
The only thing I like more is the CGC white square for the grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wish the grade stood out more on CBCS.
Well, the new CBCS, they have a white background.
Oh, they do?
And a little, like, arrow over. It's, like, a white background that the white background turns into, like, a carrot that kind of, like, points to the comic book's details on the right.
Over here, dummy.
I think it looks really slick.
Cool.
I do like it.
I'll have to take a look.
I'll pull one out of my boxes before you guys leave.
Okay. CBCS, official slab of First Issue Club.
Maybe going forward.
Sponsorships welcome, by the way.
Oh, I haven't talked about this on the podcast, and I was thinking about doing it because I've just had I've had a lot of issues with a lot of different like subscription services, and I've talked about this a lot on like our Discord and on our Patreon, and it's been like an ongoing struggle for me to like.
You're gonna do a whole expose. You've done like so much research and like testing.
Yeah, so we might have a video coming because I think I'm gonna try I might try Gmart and I might try Discount Comic Book Service, and then kind of like review the way they send monthly shipments.
Yeah,
because I did Midtown forever, and the comics were always just coming like beat to shit. Yeah. And if you order a magazine, they put it in a box that's just like with other smaller books, and the magazines are just so much wider that the covers just get like terribly bent up and gnarly. And some of those magazine size books are expensive, right?
Yeah.
So that's just frustrating. Not great quality control out of Midtown, and not the best shipping. Unknown Comics has amazing shipping practices, and my books have arrived in immaculate fashion. And there's a lot that I love about them. They sell ratio comics like around final order cutoff when they know that like we're going to get X amount of these. They kind of start making them available for purchase and pre-order, so you can really make sure you're getting the ratios you want, and you still get them at their pre-order discounts, which can sometimes be like 40 to 50% off, which is extremely competitive when you're looking at like what a lot of other big sites offer for a discount, that sometimes it's only like 15 to 30%. So 40% discount is great. Their shipping is extremely cheap, sometimes free, depending on the promotion that they're running.
Yeah.
All that being said, oh, and let me add this. They throw in bonuses if you spend a certain amount a lot of the time, and you earn points that you can spend on their stuff too.
So far,
stop drilling.
Yeah.
Struck oil.
They're doing a lot of things great. However, they take like an extra 2.5 months to get you your books compared to other comic retailers. So I'm so behind on all my regular reads. And then This most recent shipment I got was the shipment I was supposed to get Doom 1 from them, which is the Sanford Green issue that slabbed in a 9.8 has been selling for like $150. They canceled everyone's orders of that book and refunded them. I have a couple other friends who do pre-orders from Unknown, and no one got that copy. They say it was shorted in their shipment by the publisher. And to me, it just like, it feels gross to me.
It reeks of convenience.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's like, okay, this was the one book that like no one got, was this book that like you could have easily sold on eBay at one point for like even raw for like $60 a pop. It's since gone down raw a little bit than what it had been selling for. Nevertheless.
The justification doesn't make sense. If I fucking True Detective this, you can find out pretty quick what happened.
Here's what I would have like. Here's what would have made me feel better about it as a consumer. If they got shorted for this comic book and let me know in May when it came out that, hey, we didn't get enough of this, you might try to pick one up at your local comic book shop or another online retailer, whatever, if you really want it. If they know that, I probably could have gotten another copy before the hype even like exploded on this book, right? I know it's a book that I pulled. It's a book that I would have wanted anyway. I could have just bought it somewhere else. Instead, they wait 2.5 months until when your shipment is actually going out to tell you, hey, we refunded you $4 for this book that you could have hypothetically gotten $150 for. So I'm just bummed on that, and it made me think maybe I switch to a higher volume retailer who I just know isn't going to get shorted on this stuff, or isn't going to be like, hey, there's like a lot of regulars who didn't pre-order this that want the book, so we might sell it to them instead of putting it in. It's
like, well, yeah, tell your
people's boxers. I pre-ordered
this like 3 months ago.
I pre-ordered this book in February.
Yeah,
like as soon as you could.
Guess what? I'm your regular now.
and it's not like Unknown is not a small retailer.
No, I mean they're ordering enough to like get their own exclusives consistently, so they're buying a fucking ton of comic books.
And why do they take 2 months to ship books? Do they wait till you hit a certain amount or weight or?
No, it's that they ship everything as you order it. So in a pre-order, sometimes a book gets delayed a month, or you know what I mean? Like something that was supposed to come out in June ends up coming out the first week of June, ends up coming out the last week of July. And that just there adds 8 weeks to when they like start to ship your...
It's your whole order?
Yes.
Don't do that.
Midtown, Discount Comic Book Service, I think TFAW, kind of all set you up with like a monthly schedule, and then everything in your pull that you've pre-ordered that is just ready for you at the end of each month, they just ship it out to you.
That's what they should do.
That's probably what they should do. That's what they need to change their model to.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
That to me makes it feel like they give themselves 2 months of runtime to pull those books.
It would be very easy at that point to be like, because if they shipped right away, you could be like, oh, am I going to lose someone's business over a book that's selling for like $30? And you say like, no, but with 2.5 months, the time has elapsed enough for a book to have like really gained momentum. And
because you think
and just knowing I could refund these people $4, or I could sell this on eBay right now for
X amount of money.
Yeah, you think about,
or in your brick and mortar, you could just put a stack of them out and just like sell them all for $40 a piece in a day, no problem.
You think about like Something Is Killing the Children or Saga.
Sure.
You pre-order it like, oh, it's the new Brian K. Vaughan book. Yep, I'm going to pre-order that.
Yep.
And then it comes out and everybody's flipping out about it.
Yep.
And you wait 2.5 months and it's shorted.
To tell your customers that they're not going to get it.
No fucking way.
Yeah. You know what else is shorted? My whole order, because I'm not going to buy it now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of perplexed by the whole thing. I really wish that stuff was working out better with them, just because the quality of shipment practices has just eclipsed any other shop I've ordered from. They do not mess around.
Well, when you give them 2 months to pack it, they should be.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding.
So we'll see. I guess maybe be on the lookout. I think I'll post a kind of interesting video that like breaks down the positives and negatives of each of these large retailers. But I think I hit a point with them where I need to give myself a change just for my own sanity.
Yeah.
Because if this happens,
not you, it's me.
If this happens again,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be so bent out of shape about it. And I'm just going to be like, at that point, just buying like $100 comics for like what I should have just paid like $4 for.
Mm-hmm. Bummer.
That part of me is just like, now I have to buy this Doom book. And it's like, do I spend $50 on a raw copy? At that point, it's like, you're spending $50 on something that might not be a 9.8. Do you just put that towards a slab copy?
Don't spend $50 on it unless you want.
Are you just buying it
to have it?
to have it?
Yeah.
I mean,
because you could read it digitally and be done with it.
I pre-ordered it to have it.
Yeah.
I'll read it digitally. It's probably about to come out on Unlimited if it hasn't already. So I'll read it on the Marvel app. But just sucks as like a Fantastic Four and Doom fan to not have a now pivotal Doom book.
It's sick.
Yeah.
So I understand why you want it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's a $50 book.
MF Doom.
It might be one of those things that just like maybe in a year the market really falls out from under it and I can snag a copy way cheaper.
It might be one of the Halloween books or a free comic day book at some point too.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
Okay, so sorry for that rant, but maybe needed to be said. Maybe that helps somebody else who's on the bubble or thinking about changing
all you bubble sitters
who you shop from. And I will say, support your LCS. I love that.
Yeah.
I've had issues with my LCSs doing that.
The same practices.
That I've had employees at the store tell me so-and-so pulled X book out of your box. And I don't want to throw any specific stores under the bus.
Under the proverbial bus.
But just because they've changed, some places have changed ownership. Some different things has happened. We have a store that we've talked about on our Patreon before that can be a little racist. And if you want to know who they are, I guess listen to
Patreon.
Listen to old episodes of our Patreon or DM us if you're curious where not to shop in Kansas City. But I don't want to like.
And if you are that shop in Kansas City and you DM me, I'll tell you to you.
Yeah, I don't want to air
I'm not afraid.
Everyone's dirty laundry on our podcast. But there's that. And then I kind of had a question for you guys. If you want to do like less news, maybe more of like a Patreon-esque thought experiment. This is the kind of things that we normally do on a Patreon.
Sure.
Is pose a question to everybody and just kind of have a conversation around it. I saw that Screen Rant posted a thread for conversation on what superhero movie deserves to be like the first one in the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
If there is something that kind of like crosses that threshold that you're like, this makes sense. And I kind of like was looking up a little more about the Criterion Collection and what it is that like validates a movie for the Criterion Collection. And I mean, it really is all over the place what sort of movies are in there. Like there's some really bad movies, but they have
Isn't there room in the Criterion?
No.
But they have a certain like weight or importance in like the art of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So they've become a part of the Criterion Collection.
I'll say this. I have no respect or trust in the credibility of the Criterion Collection. For one reason alone.
So you don't cherish it enough to say like any movie should or shouldn't be in
there. There are 0 Muppet movies in the Criterion Collection. Not The Great Muppet Caper.
Yeah.
The Muppet Christmas Carol. Muppets Take Manhattan. Like,
yeah.
Huge, monstrous movies. Pivotal to filmmaking. completely overlooked.
So
Dark
Andy,
Crystal,
you're kind of a movie buff.
Yeah, I've got a lot of criteria.
he's buff and he likes movies.
I think part of the Criterion's mission too is to like
Make you poor.
publish and well, that's true.
Mission accomplished.
They are kind of expensive sometimes for what they are, but they kind of publish films that are otherwise maybe harder to get your hands on, and then restore stuff. So they're doing like a little bit of like technical work on things to make sure that these things live on more indefinitely. And I do think there's something to be said about like all these modern movies being like made in 4K, and they're just like, that's not a priority for us when other movies are disappearing off the face of the earth.
Yeah. So
Or like certain things need to be like rendered better
Sure.
from the early 90s maybe that are like not
yeah.
otherwise going to get that treatment.
So the way to think about Criterion is a movie that has cultural or artistic impact.
Uh-huh.
They're trying to preserve it
Yeah.
in whatever best format they can and provide context and clarity to the product.
They're really good about supplemental features.
Every movie comes with at least an essay
Yeah.
and like every behind the scenes footage thing you can think
Yes.
I will write the essay for a Muppet Christmas Carol.
of. Totally, man.
Fuck.
So like to that point though, there are like WALL-E is a Criterion movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do modern movies,
Uh-huh.
but again, it has to have like a cultural or artistic
Yeah.
impact.
Can I just say right there? I don't think that should be allowed.
WALL-E?
If the movie is less than 15 years old, you can't be in the Criterion Collection. I'm sorry. If I have to wait to be 21 to buy a beer, it's like you gotta reach a threshold for these Criterion
Before you're
movies.
a classic.
I mean,
It
Toy
does
Story
carry-
5 can't be in the Criterion Collection.
No, and it won't be.
I
There's
don't
probably
care.
something about WALL-E being like mostly a silent film.
Yeah.
I know it was like
Yeah.
scored and everything,
Exactly.
but like there's not a lot of dialogue in it. It was kind of like
I would love
It's
to
very-
read the essay.
it's very atypical of a children's movie.
Yeah.
So it kind of stands alone in that regard.
Yeah.
Back to my initial question.
Anyway, yeah, what
Is there a superhero movie? I don't
Yes.
know that there is one in there currently, but let's just say for argument's sake there isn't. And
Bottle
like
rockets.
what's the first one that like needs to be
Iron Man.
inducted?
Iron Man 1.
I think Iron Man is a great pick. I think
I rewatched Iron Man recently. It's still
it's awesome.
good.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's so good.
An editor from Screen Rant suggested The Crow.
That needs to be redacted
Sure.
immediately.
Sure.
Redacted?
Yes. The Crow? No,
the
you know
Bill
what?
Skarsgård
You know
one.
what? Let's put Spawn in there because John Leguizamo as the clown. No, The Crow, get out of here.
Oh wow, okay.
I could
Get out of here.
I could
Crow? Seriously? Yuck, man.
in terms of cultural impact, a lot of goth people.
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's an argument for a 2-pack of the Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy.
Yeah.
For the Criterion Collection?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
That's interesting.
Both of them in one package.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, Ang Lee's Hulk. I
really didn't like that one.
because
Oh, I swear to Christ above, if Ang Lee's Hulk gets a Criterion movie before a Muppet movie, I will do a reverse Spielberg and destroy every movie created.
I do think you've got a really good point if we're talking about like art and cultural impact being like some of the large drawers of what makes it in. Movies fully made with like puppets, like
And
come
Michael
on,
Caine.
that really stands out as like a unique cinematic experience.
Some
that's,
people
like,
want to watch the world burn, Kermit.
it was a tangerine the size of Fuzzy. Jesus Christ.
Okay, please explain to me Ang Lee's Hulk.
So it predates. Well, Iron Man is definitely the modern superhero movie. That was the archetype.
This
right?
was the movie that was so bad that they were like, we gotta think of it. We gotta do
Right.
what ultimately becomes the MCU.
But here's the thing. It was made to replicate the look of a comic book.
it does do some interesting aesthetic stuff.
And on top of that,
So does French fries on pizza, but it's not widely done.
Sorry, I hit my mic.
on top of that, it tried to be what ultimately like the Eternals ended up being, where it's more
Terrible?
I
liked the Eternals.
Okay,
I
know.
thought the Eternals was beautiful.
We know.
Actually,
Don't you dare.
not a bad suggestion for a Criterion.
Eternals.
I mean, yeah. I mean, just the directorial style of a superhero movie makes it kind of unique.
Yeah. I would actually love to see a Criterion version of like Best of Marvel. Like Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Eternals is in there.
Yeah.
Endgame.
Endgame, yeah. The 2-pack should be Endgame and what's the other one?
Final Solution. That
no,
was it, right?
No, it was the two Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Endgame and
The other one.
No Road Home.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're asking me which one I legitimately think should be like
Infinity War.
Infinity War and Endgame.
I was just gonna let him keep going.
the first one in, I would think the Michael Keaton Batman movie is one that just like culturally made it like believable or acceptable to like do a superhero thing and like do it with a serious tone.
I don't know.
Which I feel like had never really been, like, all comic booky things before that were very like
But like Christopher Reeves is Superman.
Well,
jokey and cartoony. I feel like those are corny as fuck.
for that
Richard Pryor was in the third one. Okay, so it's pretty serious.
to that point, like I would love to see a like pre-60s superhero set. George Reeves Superman.
Yeah.
Like the Captain America serials that they did back in the 40s and 50s. Like that would be really interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
It'd be interesting.
I definitely wouldn't want to buy it.
I wouldn't buy it. I'd watch it on the History Channel on a Sunday afternoon. But I wouldn't buy. I would buy an Iron Man Criterion in a heartbeat.
It's because you're a normie.
Yeah, and normies have money, and normies buy DVDs.
I feel like the Batman movie in particular kind of started a craze with like Batman pop culturally that like brought it back, and like everyone was wearing Batman t-shirts
For sure.
and stuff like that. There's I think
Batman T-shirts are back, everybody.
the other
Michael
one where
Keaton's
like
done it.
if you looked at that as like the kind of eras of superhero movies, I think like Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, is that his name? Was another kind of point of delineation where like this is really more of like a what the special effects era of these things can do, because before the superheroes that they were picking were like Blade sort of ground based things that like
rooted in reality.
weren't just like, when I say ground based, I mean like characters aren't just like flying all over like the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there aren't like epic battle scenes taking place like in outer space.
There are blood
like,
raves, but they're not.
These are things that are just like practically filmable on a set.
Sure.
And
Well,
Spider-Man was like the first of these movies for me that I was just like, they couldn't have been done like this before this year.
Well, and another thing about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is it's the first superhero movie post 9/11.
True.
Yeah.
So it's like an extra twist on the whole thing of just like, you know, America used to be this impervious country where like nothing can hurt it, and then something did, and now we have to like make superhero movies where we feel that way again. And I felt like it was
And since it's based in New York, that would be a great essay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you guys, speaking of that, do you guys remember the marketing material that they had to have
just about to
pulled,
say that.
where Spider-Man had the web between the Twin Towers?
Yeah. So it really brought it down.
Yeah. Spider-Man?
The webbing.
Oh,
He just left it up there in the wind.
specifically?
I think that's all I got news-wise.
What would you put in there? Oh, the Batman movie.
Probably Batman first.
We had Ang Hulk over
and then
here.
Spider-Man second.
And then Iron Man 1.
Yep.
And then Thor Dark World.
My first vote was 2-pack of Hellboy and Hellboy
Tupac?
2.
Yeah.
Oh,
That would be a
true.
good one.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about comic books now?
Yes.
Oh, my news was that Helverine is getting an ongoing series.
God. Turns out prayers do get answered, and Andy wasted his on that.
Hey, man, Benjamin Percy's writing it.
That's great, but he can't save everything.
And the point I made on our chat about this was that it is Dakin. It's not
Yeah.
Logan.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're at least being like, here's a character that virtually no one cares about, who is still a Wolverine, that you can now make into a cooler character, character that everyone can agree is now cooler.
For
sure.
Hot Claws gone wild.
Yeah, right.
Yes, let's get into the first issues of the week.
Yay! Greg, we read the same book again.
we did. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I do.
Hit me.
So Greg and I both read Johnny Quest,
Uh-huh.
the new book out on Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Joe Casey and Sebastian Pires.
Really restrained it in and only had 16 variants.
True, but they were like 4 covers with different foilings and Virgin. And
So dumb. Dynamite figured the fuck out.
yeah, I needed 100 covers of Johnny Quest where I could pick 3 that I really loved.
Yeah.
I think we both agree that this book had way more going for it than it had any right to.
This book nailed it.
Yeah.
This was a surprise hit for me this week. We were just coming off of the Mad Cave Flash Gordon book, which we had talked about on the show, how no matter how we try to reinterpret it or rebrand it, that series always feels old and dated.
Feels stuck in its time.
Johnny Quest, in each iteration, always finds a way to refresh itself to the new generation it's trying to not enter itself into, but trying to reintroduce itself to. And this book does that so well with the dynamic of the family, with the dynamic of the island that they're on, and the situations that they go to. And it's such a simple premise. It's kid who wants to be an adventurer. His dad's a super scientist. He has a super sexy, beefy daddy bodyguard and a best friend that pals around with him.
Uh-huh.
And a dog that has a mask for some reason.
Because he looks like a bandit.
Yeah. And like what you can do with that is timeless.
Yeah.
It's adventuring. It's going on super missions. It's being a family unit. It's learning. It's exploring. Those are timeless ideas that you can just rekindle and place in different time periods. Flash Gordon, you can't.
Yeah.
It's a very static story.
Totally.
And
unless you're doing gritty reboot of Flash Gordon. That's like really all you can do.
Yeah.
And even then it's just going to be Flash Gordon says the fuck word.
says a cuss word,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's just like, oh, but it's kind of stupid.
Right.
But I mean, I loved this book, and the twist at the end was super fun to me.
Super awesome.
And like, this isn't a gritty reboot, but it feels more impactful. It feels a little more adult.
Yeah. Well, because it's like, I mean, they're quite literally bringing this into the modern era, right? It felt like there were stakes to the story. There was the action, the kind of almost corny action. Race Bannon puts on his jet belt and rockets around.
I was willing to let that go.
Yeah.
It was so badass.
That's what I mean.
There's some aspects of Johnny Quest where you're just like, yeah, fuck yeah. Do it. Oh, there's like a particle transmitter in the boat? Sure.
Of course there is.
Sure there is.
Why wouldn't there be? Yeah.
Those guys aren't dating? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
right.
I will suspend disbelief.
Yeah, they're only buried next to each other.
Yeah. Okay, so in this book, like, there's a time leap, and the fucked up scene where Johnny Quest stumbles upon his dad's grave in the future is like a mind fuck on a level that doesn't get enough weight in this book of just like, oh shit, there's my dad's grave, but wait a minute, my dad's behind me. Like, you're come to face with your dad's mortality and the fact that he's still alive at the same time. You're just, and seeing that through the lens of a kid, it's like, holy shit! Like I was not ready for that confrontation right now.
Yeah, and that's the twist of the book.
The next 10 issues are therapy.
I mean, essentially.
Well, but yeah, I love this. I was a big fan of Jonny Quest as a kid. You said you were a big fan of Jonny Quest as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm jazzed that there's like a book that doesn't feel like it's stuck in the 60s.
Yes. And what is so nice about this book is that Dynamite isn't using it as a cash grab.
Yeah.
There is a story here.
For sure.
There is involvement. There is like there's a feeling of that they're going to invest in this story. Mm-hmm. And the artwork in this is so good.
Yeah.
This feels like something that I hope they continue with, because this could be a big flagship for Dynamite if they do it right.
Totally.
Because
totally.
An adventure book with a spunky kid, yeah, that has legs. It's just Goonies with less people.
Well, and they already hit it out of the park with Space Ghost, right?
Right, yeah.
So if they play their cards right, they could have that whole stable of Hanna-Barbera action comics all meet up.
You got Jonny Quest,
did
Space Ghost, Jabberjaw, Wacky Racers.
Yep, all those guys.
Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
don't you harumph me.
Yeah, Jonny Quest
on Dynamite. Yeah.
Totally awesome.
Right on.
I also read Ultraman X Avengers.
Hell yeah.
This is by Kyle Higgins and Matt Grom, who you know from Power Rangers and Radiant Black and Supermassive. And knowing that, you know why this book is going to be so good, because it's basically Ultraman. And what happens is Galactus uses his abilities to get a new herald from an Ultraman enemy. So now he has like an Ultraman villain being the Herald of Galactus. The Avengers are somehow brought through with a time portal into Ultraman's universe. So this is like an alternate timeline scenario. This is the 616 Avengers, but they're brought into Ultraman world. And the way that this is done is brilliant, because they spend about 4 pages of pointing at one another and going, oh, wait, you're this person. Oh, yeah, you're this person. Because I don't know who Ultraman or what any of his cohorts do. And they spend 2 pages telling me what he does. I'm like, okay, now I get it. And I'm on board. Yeah. And all that messiness was right out the window. And what proceeded after that was a bunch of kaiju fights, a bunch of mech fights, and Avengers just beating the shit out of things. And that's all this book needs to be. So please continue with the greatness, Kyle. And Matt.
All right.
Wow. Well, a ringing endorsement for kaiju fights.
All right.
Also read Babs.
Yes, this is a book I really was interested in.
Garth Ennis and Jacqueline Burrows.
Yeah.
This is my pick of the week.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a not subtle, stark commentary on female empowerment, incels, white nationalism, Conan the Barbarian.
The character on the cover is like a
chainmail that chafes nipples.
Clear red Sonya comp.
This book, in any other person's hands, would not be as good. But Garth Ennis has a hold of this, and his biting commentary and his quick wit make this book so much fun to read. And you would think, well, Greg, it's not so subtle commentary, so it has to like really beat you over the head with it. And it does. And that's fine. And like he presents it in a way where you're just like, oh, this is complete satire. And I'm just enjoying every bit of this sugary cereal that he is giving me.
Yeah.
And it is just hop on, folks, and go along for the ride, because this is exactly what we need in this political climate right now.
I'm so excited to read it.
Just a quick punch to the nuts.
It's just classic Garth Ennis. And this creative team are the same guys who did Ribbon Queen recently.
Yes, they are.
And Crossed.
Yeah.
For those of you who made the terrible
for
mistake
those of you
reading
who smoked
Crossed.
cigarettes in high school. It was a delight. And I mean, we here are, I would safely say we are Garth Ennis simps.
Yeah.
And so consider us completely bald and gagged for this book. And thank you, Daddy, I guess. I read one. Oh, what was cool about this book, it's from Ahoy Comics. At the end, you get a preview of the new Toxic Avenger book by Matt Bors and Fred Harper.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like a Toxic Avengers book.
Dope.
It looks rough and gritty and indie and ugly and gross, and that's what it should be.
I think it should be pretty funny too, because Matt Bors is the guy who wrote the Nib and did a lot of like post-apocalyptic Mad Max style comedy, and I think that kind of fits.
Yeah.
You know, a world wherein there can be a toxic crusader,
Toxic Avenger.
Avenger, Toxic Crusader, Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Crusader was the TV show for kids. Toxic
Okay.
Avenger is the movie.
All right, got it.
Get it right.
But they are the same character.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't have enough time to read it, but I did flip through the new Biker Mice from Mars.
That had a lot of words in it.
It had a lot of words for a book called Biker Mice from Mars.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
It looked really good,
Yeah.
but it did have a lot of words.
It's a
so
lot of
I'll
words
report
in that
back
book.
on next week's Patreon about it.
Yeah.
What didn't have a lot of words, but was highly anticipated, was Nightwatcher by Jonny
Oh,
Ba.
yeah.
It's the new TMNT book. Spoiler, it's Jenica.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's what I liked about the
I think
book.
people were stoked that it was going to be a new character, and they let everyone believe that, so they would sell more copies.
No, man, they gave it to
Shocker.
Jonny Ba. Of course it's going to be Jenica.
Yeah.
What I liked the most about this book, because it kind of highlighted something that I've always thought about the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
The Turtles are not in disguise.
Correct.
They have masks, right? But like, truly, their identities are not hidden. Which, in the beginning of TMNT history, they didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Because they're giant anthropomorphic turtles. People just assume they're people's in costumes already.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that kind of in the films of just like, they're like, oh, like we can walk around because we think they're turtles or whatever. Jenica, well, okay, so in TMNT world now, there's a whole storyline where more people have been made into animal hybrid mutant things. So now the line between human and non-human is more blurred because there's more representation in these books. So therefore, in this new Nightwatchers book, Jenica actually wears like a metal costume. So she's like completely hidden in her identity, which I thought was funny because had this book come out 20 years ago, she wouldn't be wearing that because she would just be a turtle wearing like a yellow ribbon around her eyes and there her identity is hidden. I just thought it was funny that finally they're just like, no, let's put these things into things if they're going to be like fighting crime and doing stuff. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't know too much about Jenica, and I'm not completely fan serviced for this character, but it is cool that they're still investing in the character. And to give her like a new identity and a new mantle is fun.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
And I love Jonny Ba. Monkey Meat.
Boy Wonder.
Boy, oh, for sure, Boy Wonder.
Some of his books are a little like too off the wall for me.
Monkey Meat.
Yeah, that one I was just like, what am I reading? I just not for me.
You read Monkey Meat.
Yeah. I read Spider Society. Oh, before I get into the book I read, can I just say we're not covering X Factor, which is written by Mark Russell, one of our favorite writers. And this book's apparently really good. In it, X Factor is kind of like part celebrity representing like America, being like some of the more like aesthetically appealing mutants, and they're working for the government. I don't know, just like hearing him talk about what the concept for the book was, very interesting, very exciting, and it sounds like it's a good book. So
Will you cover it on next week's Patreon?
yeah, we could do that.
Excellent.
Spider Society was the book that I did read. It's by Alex Segura, and this is a book we've been building towards for a minute in Spider-Land. Obviously, these like edge of Spider comics
Yeah.
like always trickle out, and you get introduced to the new characters who are going to be part of this like next Spider World crossover event. I think a little heat around this book in particular because they're calling it Spider Society, which is something they've like not really given a name to the larger band of characters before. And so some people are like, oh, first appearance of Spider Society. They finally have a name and are a team collectively.
Slap it.
So
God, we gotta stop with this shit.
that's where I think a lot of the buzz surrounding this book comes from, which probably just, you know, in the scheme of things, don't overpay for this book because all of these characters have showed up in comics together before. Now they just have like a name. Who cares? In my opinion, anyway. So
Shots fired.
I'm just trying to save people from spending like, you know, $20 on this book.
Hey, I'm agreeing with you. That's
Yeah.
why we have this show.
Yeah. So in the Edge of series, which you kind of have to explain the lead up to get what this book is doing.
Edging Spider-Man.
Strap in.
Miguel O'Hara, who is Spider-Man 2099,
Right.
kind of got tasked with assembling a task force of like some of the more elite Spider people from
Spider Force.
the Spider-Verse.
Spider Factor.
Spiders.
Spider Blue.
Madam Web has put him up to this because she foresees like something bad happening.
And her mom went to the Amazon. Died.
Yeah, well, so in order to continue explaining this, I'm going to have to recap the plot of Madam Web.
Finally.
So ultimately in this book, Madam Web loses her power of foresight. And
Now she only has hindsight.
She only has 3 sight.
and
She only has sixth sense.
I can't.
you kind of realize that the mission she sent Miguel on to get people together is kind of the thing that instigates the bad stuff that happens. Like he puts all these spiders in one place, and then it becomes like ripe for an ambush, and all these people get taken out.
Oops.
And then on top of that happening, there is one of the survivors is one of our spider people who turns out to be working for the other side.
Aha.
Do you know who the other side is?
I think the other side is just like whatever the multiverse version of the Sinister Six is, which I think is called the Sinister Squadron. And they're just like a massive amount of like
100 rhinos.
different characters. There's like a Gwen Goblin who is kind of like leading this group.
Sure. That tracks.
Yeah.
Oh boy. When are we gonna tie this in a bow?
Never.
Yep. We've busted the door off the hinges, unfortunately.
Too many Spider-Man.
So it's only a 4-part series. It's a little less ambitious than the Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon, all of these other big events that they've done.
Spider Catastrophe.
I think we have to accept the fact that there's going to be an Edge of series every year until the end of time now, and then there's going to be some sort of payoff. And I think the payoff of the Edge of books is going to get more and more throwaway, right?
Right.
I bought all these Edge of books because I just assumed this was leading to another big Spider-Verse thing that was going to like change something about Peter Parker, or like they did a big thing where Jessica Drew's storyline changed with the last one and it introduced Spider-Boy, who now has his own comic. So each of them so far have kind of had decent repercussions, or at least like 1 or 2 amazing first appearances. And we're getting to a point now where like the water's thinning, or you're just not able to invest as much resources in publishing this like massive same Spider-Man event kind of over and over again. So
yeah,
I might be stepping back a bit from these
some privacy during this
these
time.
Spider-Versal events in the future.
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah.
We solved this problem
look over at my like
last year when we said
10 boxes of Spider-Man books.
every year there should be an event called Goblin Island. And all the goblins go to an island and fight.
It's Goblin mode.
And called Goblin Mode. and they find out who's the de facto goblin for this year.
Yeah.
It's like Midsummer, like,
Yeah.
like or the lottery. We just need it once a year to figure out who's the boss this year.
Yep. I agree. They are fun for what they are.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of like...
But they are fun, but they're always pitched to us of just like, you don't want to miss this.
I know.
All these first appearances, and it's just like, no, just say it's stupid fun.
Yeah, right.
If you say it's stupid fun, I'm more likely to buy in.
This is one, and no shade, I really enjoyed this book, and so like I don't want... Now, it sounds like I'm shading it because the frustration with the larger thing at hand is just... And them doing it so many times is getting exhausting. So the book was good. You're right. It needs to be communicated as more of a throwaway thing, that you're not like having to buy 5 adjunct books in the lead up, and they stretch the lead up to this out 5 months because every month a new Edge of Spider-Verse book comes out. That makes it feel like it's going to be this massive thing, and then it's like a 4-issue mini.
Yeah.
Does Spider-Man show up in this book?
No Peter Parker.
Okay.
No.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
And I think that's all Spider fans need to know.
Yeah.
Like,
Is Miles Morales in there?
No Spider Prime. Miles Morales and Gwen are both in this.
Sure. But they are optional Spider books. Clearly.
I think so, yeah.
Got it.
It's a
Until
shame.
they aren't.
Well, sure.
You know what I mean? If you find out in issue 4 that like,
Is
oh
there
my
a-
God, something crazy happened.
Is there a fucking QR code in this book?
Was there a QR code in it? I don't think there was.
Dodged a bullet.
I don't think there was. At first, I thought the QR code thing was just X-Men books, but after the Iron Fist thing, it's appearing like it's becoming more common throughout the...
The next QR code that Marvel puts out should lead to a video of CB Cebulski going, sorry. Hey, we're sorry. This is stupid. We're not going to do it anymore. Sorry.
I love... Do you remember the AR links that used to be in Marvel Comics?
Those were cool.
They were really cool. If you don't know what they were, you would get an app, and it would basically like read the page and be like, okay, this page is tied to this video on the app, and it would open a secret video that would sometimes just give you like historical context for like who a character was. That it's like, oh, okay, in this issue, Captain Marvel is fighting Vortex, and you're just like, who the fuck is Vortex, and why do I care? And then you get like a quick little video background, and you're like, now I see the drama of like the import of this scene, and it worked really well. But Chip Zdarsky, I wonder if you probably can't access these anymore, maybe on YouTube. But Chip Zdarsky did a bunch of hilarious videos in his Howard the Duck run, where they were all kind of filmed like documentary style. Like he was like talking about like historical stuff and the importance of Howard the Duck, and then saying a bunch of just like incredibly wrong stuff. Or like arguing with somebody off camera for like half of it. They were so funny. And it's such a throwaway thing, right? Yeah. Like, I can't believe that he spent that much time on something that, like, the
6 people are going to watch.
Like, yeah, that, like, almost nobody watches, and, like, a production department normally handles. You know what I mean?
He got paid for it.
And make, like, a throwaway thing. He was just like, what if...
He's like, I get paid more if I make the videos?
Yeah, I, like, scripted these and sat down and recorded videos for this.
Yeah, and everyone in the production team was like, "Oh fuck!" Okay.
If there is a way to watch those, you should watch them because they're really funny, I think.
All right, what's your comics?
Last book of the week, I read Werewolf by Night.
Ow!
Red Band.
There's
Marvel's first.
a werewolf by night in the closet.
Okay, can we talk about just the Red Band thing?
Yeah.
Very successful with the event.
Big time successful.
What's the event called? I'm spacing.
Blood Hunt.
Blood Hunt.
Now it seems that every like series that has a somewhat violent character is gonna get Red Band versions because they just sold so well. Yeah. And they'll probably do that until we get tired of it.
Hey, not
Red Band Archie is good.
Not so Red Band versions. This is like an imprint. This is like a line.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
this
So
is-
there's not a clean version of this.
Correct.
I like this better.
Yes. So this is their new Max kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like,
Okay.
but there's a delineation, right? So, like,
You're right. Yep.
Get Fury, which is a book that Marvel's still putting out, written by Garth Ennis, is imprinted under Max. Marvel Max. Werewolf by Night is under Red Band, Marvel Red Band. So it's its own separate and distinct
Yeah.
whatever.
Focused on gore.
That's my read.
Yeah.
Is I think Red Band is like,
Max, language, Red Band, gore.
I mean, really and truly, like that I think is the delineation where Max is more,
It's all Al Gore running for president again.
it's like an R-rated movie. Yeah.
It's
please recycle your damn plastic.
alternate universe. What if Al Gore had won?
By the way, you're welcome for the internet. Dang it, Bobby.
You were promised gore.
Why is he Hank Hill?
I don't know. I don't know.
He kind of does talk like that. He's got this deep.
Stay off my St. Augustine sod, damn it.
Anyway, Werewolf by Night Red Band. So yes, it comes polybagged. As a jaded like horror comic reader, I kind of roll my eyes that Marvel was like, you put this in a poly bag.
Yeah.
But then for Marvel to have a book where like people's heads get squished in is, I don't know, it's something.
I want a Marvel Neon where it's just hardcore sex. Like, let's just go for it. I want just this Werewolf by Night just holding the big schwanz on the fucking cover. God.
Werewolf by Night certainly reads as a title that kids could be interested in.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I want to read
So-
Werewolf by Day where he's working his accounting job in full wolf regalia.
Well, that we do kind of get that. He's
Oh.
a ship captain, actually, Werewolf by Day.
Oh, that's actually pretty badass.
The bag does really serve a purpose, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
To increase the price by $1.
So
And that.
I'll say this too. I was wrong. This is not a direct lead from the Werewolf by Night Blood Hunt tie-in.
Yeah.
This is Jack Russell, the OG, doing his thing. It's actually a
The terrier.
spin-off. Correct, the terrier.
Doing his captaining.
Yep. It's actually a spin-off of. Do you guys
Ahoy,
remember
ahoy.
that Elsa Blood Hunt or the Elsa Bloodstone
Yeah.
Yes.
Werewolf by Night book they did in 2023?
Yeah.
I love that cover.
It's a direct
Continuation of that.
follow up of that.
Yeah, cool.
Elsa shows up and she teams up with Jack Russell. But
Perfect storm that motherfucker. And
yeah, so this just has to do with the fallout from Blood Hunt, where the night and the moon is like more intense on Jack, and he can't control his werewolf anymore. So it feels
Been there, buddy.
Yeah, it feels like a throwback to like the original Werewolf by Night books, where it's like more of a like horror adventure.
I can't control it. It's just part of being a wolf man.
Sorry, babe, this never happened.
that's why I'm out here on the sea.
I'm gonna look.
Jesus.
That's why I bought these sunglasses so you wouldn't see me peeking.
I sell werewolves and
I
werewolf
caught her
accessories.
scent in the wind. What do you want me to do?
What are you guys doing?
I'm not going to howl at that waning gibbous.
You guys are goobers. The thing I do want to talk about on here that kind of made me laugh, I showed the guys before this, but there's I don't know, 5 or 6 pages of like intro material to the story, and then there's a big 2-page spread that's like literally just
That just explains Blood Hunt.
it's just like Blood Hunt happens.
Yeah,
This says you're too far away to see it on the
Love
video,
it.
but it says Blood Hunt commences.
Blood Hunt
Yeah.
in a
commences,
giant black box.
which will be my next tattoo.
No other text. Oh, that's honestly really cool tattoo. Just a black square.
Blood Hunt
It
commences.
says
Blood Hunt
Blood Hunt
commit-
commences in it.
What's
So-
that, Grandpa? Shut up.
So then you flip the page and it's
It's a
like,
QR code.
it's like night 2. And then Blood Hunt's just like over.
Over, yeah.
So
Blood Hunt concludes.
this book is like a prequel and a sequel to Blood Hunt, where Blood Hunt happens in the middle of the issue, and I thought that was really funny.
God, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I know we were joking around during that, but it sounded like a pretty badass book.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I loved it a lot.
I'd like to commend everyone's Al Gore impressions real quick.
Jesus.
Very good.
I am excited that this first like Red Band book, I mean, it is kind of like eye rolling for being like a too extreme for bookshelves, but it was a good book. That
Yeah.
Honestly, we've been clamoring for that though as fans. How often on the show have we been like, if you're gonna say the cuss word, say the cuss word.
Yeah.
Don't just, like say squiggly lines or whatever. And how many times have we been like, if you're gonna cut off someone's head, make it like more fun.
Yeah.
And like so now Marvel's like, okay, nerds, here you go. You got your curse word line and your blood line.
I mean, there's this panel here where like Jack runs across some people that he at least thinks that he like tore apart and killed as a werewolf, and it's like, I mean, that's pretty extreme for a Marvel book.
No, yeah, that's
There's blood and guts and intestines and spines and stuff.
That's some Boom Studio shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's a Dynamite book, right?
It's honestly, that stuff doesn't. When I read it in the Blood Hunt Red Band, like, it didn't strike me. Really, it wasn't like whoa in a Marvel book.
That was
Because
really tame in the Blood Hunt stuff.
yeah, and it just I think so many other independent comics are like that now.
Have ruined you.
That you're just like, I don't know, for sure. Like, okay, there's some guts, like
mid.
right.
Step it up, Marvel.
Watch the sadness and then talk to me.
God, I don't even know what the fuck that is, and I want to look it up.
I think it might be different if they used a lot of like random obscure characters, and you're not seeing like. I think it would have struck me more if I saw Miles Morales like snap someone in half over his knee. if it was like a lovable character that is like they are just eviscerating people.
Bane him.
Yeah, right.
We find out Glob Herman's made of like acid and he dissolves a guy by like pulling him into himself.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
X Factor Red Band, Marvel, hit me up.
Beak just like pummels someone into the dirt with his beak.
Just 4 pages of 9-panel grids of just like beak in, beak out, beak in, beak out.
Getting bloodier and bloodier.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd read that.
Yep. Face hole getting deeper and deeper.
Beak is.
So Werewolf by Night Red Band, good shit.
Beak
It makes
commences.
Beak commences.
All right, and with that, First Issue Club concludes.
All right, bye. First Issue Club podcast is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, the people responsible for our favorite drinks, the Space Camper Cosmic IPA family of beers. Our show is edited and produced by our hosts Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. You can find us on social media at First Issue Club, and you can join the supporters who keep our humble podcast going on our Patreon at patreon.com/firstissueclub.